Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. I appreciate you joining me today. Let's talk about 7 of the worst habits that I consistently see with clients when it relates to their career progress, professional growth, and just overall achieving what they want to achieve at work. And so the 7 that we're going to talk about are going to be overpromising and underdelivering, not getting things in writing, dodging conflict, letting terrible people drain you, waiting for recognition, hiding behind emails, and ignoring your self-care. So before we dive into all 7 of these, if you like this video, like this content, hit the subscribe to the channel, notification bell, and the thumbs up. Also, check us out on School. I'm building a School community where all of my AI and career growth strategies will be released for free, and you'll get to increase your network of high-performing professionals. Okay, now that's out of the way, let's dive in. So overpromising and underdelivering. This is something that's pretty self-explanatory, so I don't think I really need to give a huge explanation as to what it is. But it usually comes in the form of saying yes to everything and ultimately letting people down because you aren't prioritizing, you aren't setting real expectations, and you're just not able to do everything flat out. So the first thing that we want to do here is you need to have a prioritization system. I'm a big fan of the Eisenhower matrix, understanding important things versus urgent things. And when it's both of those, then they're usually going to be the most important. Depending on your role, you could even replace these with other things. So for instance, on my side business, I actually don't use those terms, but I use revenue generating and then also more strategic operations. And so things that are both, if they're both strategic and revenue generating, boom, most important stuff. If it's just revenue generating, it's the second most. If it's just strategic, great. And if it's just none of those things, then it's in the backlog. And then that kind of cycles through and rinse and repeat. But that's step 1 is honestly prioritize. And prioritize, you have to realize what that means. By setting a prioritization system, it means you are saying yes to this amount and no to this amount. That is the definition of prioritizing. If you are not saying no, you are not prioritizing. Plain and simple. Okay. And you want to have this pretty readily available. You should know what your priority list is or be able to get it in relatively quick real time. And this is so that you can do the second part, which is setting those expectations. And so when someone comes to you and says, hey, I need you to do a competitive analysis on people who are making water bottles and why some companies win and some don't. I don't know. I'm showing out a hypothetical and I got a water bottle in front of me. So sorry for such a useless example, but you get my point. That you can say, oh yeah, I can do that. Like when do you need it by? And then depending on their response, well, you could say, look, like this is going to be competing with A, B, and C because I need to get these things done by that same day. So where does this fall in relationship to those things? Right? This is how you can set real expectations. And it also makes you a pretty reputable source as long as you do this and deliver. That's the key part. Now, when you're first doing this, you might still stumble and falter from time to time. And that's okay because you're building your system. And then when your leader or superior, somebody comes to you and is like, hey, like I noticed there's some things still not happening. What's going on? And you can look, I'm trying to build out a prioritization system. Here's what I have. If you have suggestions, I'd love to know it, but here's where I'm struggling and what is getting in my way. Right? You're opening up that door to mentorship and coaching. But at the end of the day, if you are overpromising and underdelivering, you need to be able to prioritize, have that list in front of you, easily accessible, whatever it might be, so that you can then have the conversation to set real expectations and then deliver. Plain and simple. Now, from an AI perspective, where does this come in? So depending on where you are at, it can be really, really great to use something like a Microsoft Copilot, a Google Gemini, if maybe you don't have Office 365, but you're in the Google workspace. Or honestly, it can be something like ChatGPT, right? And so ChatGPT can be super useful. There's a prompting framework called step back prompting, which is actually meant to be much more of a strategic point of view. And so if you just create your gross list of like, boom, here's my 50 things that I have on my plate, whether it's a mixture of personal, professional, strictly personal, whatever, doesn't matter. And you can go to ChatGPT and say something along the lines of, hey, I need you to be a expert prioritization coach and help me figure out what are the most important to least important things. Here are the goals I'm currently trying to achieve from a professional standpoint, from a personal standpoint, whatever it might be. Like you give it the outcome of what you are trying to work towards. And then here's my list of things, and I'm unsure how to prioritize these effectively. If you need more information about these things, then let me know. I would appreciate you taking a step back, thinking through this step by step to help me figure out what is the biggest, most highest priority to least priority item on this list. In addition, I would like to come out of this with a system to continually prioritize my tasks moving forward. Can you help me develop a prioritization system and criteria as well? And then step through that conversation. You will be shocked at how awesome it will be. Like I said, I've settled on using the Eisenhower matrix. I'm also a big fan of time blocking from a calendar perspective, and also something that I've heard a lot of people do is um, they'll time block plus a day of the week or time of day type thing. So maybe Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are dedicated to this thematic type of process. Or, from the start of my day until lunchtime, I do this. And then from lunchtime until the end of the day, I do this. So it's not just necessarily time blocking to say, I'm going to set aside this time to work on my priority things, but you're actually thematically over time training your brain to be in the mode to accomplish a certain theme of tasks. I've tried to do that for me. It didn't really work, but I know a lot of people that have success with that. So again, just kind of tinker, have those conversations with AI and then make it ongoing. Tell it what works, what didn't, why it worked, why it didn't, so on and so forth. You can continue to refine the conversation over and over again. Okay. Next up, the not getting things in writing. And so what I mean by this is just where misunderstandings come from. So this can be not confirming things that are agreed upon in writing. It could be the fact that you just kind of nodded along and were like, yeah, awesome. Just trying to, make things move forward and not, and then not following up writing like, oh, hey, what were the requirements for that thing? Like whatever it might be. Okay. But you don't agree to things verbally without having the written confirmation. And this is something that most people think that it's almost confrontational to then send that follow up in writing. So here's the thing, set the tone verbally, right? Whenever you're agreeing on something, then what you can do is very, very simple, right? So let's say, again, we'll go back to the example of doing that market competitive analysis. So you're tasked with doing a competitive analysis on why certain water bottle manufacturers are successful and which ones are not and why. And so what you can do is say, okay, awesome. So what you are looking for is general market analysis in the top 10 water bottle companies, figuring out what makes them successful. And then the bottom 10 speculative reasons as to why they are not successful. And you need this by the end of next Friday. You don't really have any defined criteria beyond that. So it's up to me to figure out which criteria I use. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Just so you know, so that I don't forget it, I'm going to send an email reminder so that I have it in writing and I have it in my inbox for us both. That's going to come at the end of the meeting. Cool? Right? Super, super simple. It's not confrontational. And you're actually framing that it's for your own benefit. Right? Now, here's the thing. This also works well on the other side of the equation. So let's say you're the one facilitating the assignment or the one delegating the assignment, and you do the same thing. You're like, hey, here's what I need from you. Here's what I need from you. Here's the deadline. Does that sound good? Cool. Okay. Just so I don't lose track of this, I'm going to send an email with this. It's in writing. If that works for you, great. But really, this is for me. Is that okay? Cool. Right? It's not a big deal. That's how you can get past the confrontation of making somebody feel like, or even you feeling like a guilty kind of big brother, big sister type person for sending a confirmation email. Is you just set the tone that, hey, I'm going to do this for me because this is how my system works for me to be successful. If you use this email, great. And if you don't use this email, great. I don't care because it's not for you, it's for me. Honestly, because this is so simple, I don't know how much practice a lot of people need. But if you do need some practice in maybe facilitating this, then again, you can have AI do that. You could say, hey, I need you to be somebody I am delegating this task to, or somebody who's delegating a task to me. I want to practice facilitating in the conversation that I'm going to send an email confirmation after me agreeing to perform the task as to what the criteria are. Can you help me work through this conversation over and over again? I'd like you to give me feedback on whether or not my tone, my assertiveness, my clarity, and my delivery set a positive expectation as to why I'm sending the email, and where I can improve and what I did well. Again, very simple, but I don't think that I think this is just one that people overthink way too much, that is solved by that simple framework of just saying, hey, I'm doing this for me. I'm not doing it for you. You're probably doing it for them in some regards, right? But you frame it that, it takes all the pressure off, and boom, done. Okay. That kind of leads into the next one, which is dodging conflict. And this is, I don't care what direction this is. This can be horizontal to you. It can be people who report to you. It can be people above you. I don't care. But here's the thing about dodging conflict. It doesn't build relationships at all. It sets you up for failure in the future. It sets the other party up for failure in the future. And the longer that this goes on, the more resentment that gets built and the less real time factor there is. And so I will say, first and foremost, always, always, always address it in real time, unless my only asterisk is if you need some emotional down regulation time. So, like, if something happened and you're just like fired the up, right? Like you're just, oh, or some sort of emotional response, take a minute, right? I'm not going to say dodge the conflict, but dodge the conflict for a second. Take 5 minutes, walk away from the computer, breathe, relax, and then reach out. But make it as close to real time as you can. And all you're going to do is make this very simple. You're going to address it directly and professionally, and you put the best foot forward because it's never going to fix itself. And so it doesn't matter what this is, but you could say, just reach it out. The thing that I like to say here is start with questions. When you start with a level of curiosity, it will almost never come off as an attack unless it's like a passive aggressive line of questioning of like, hey, I tend to think that this is not a good approach. So can you tell me why you did? Right? Like that's not a good one. But it depends on obviously what the conflict is, but start with questions in terms of seeking to understand. And it could even just be like, it depends on your relationship, but you could just start with a pretty direct opener of like, hey, can we talk about the meeting that we just had? And then when you get into it, get into the conversation, you could say, hey, I'm not quite understanding why this is the approach. Or can you help me understand why this particular thing is happening? Or what was the root cause of this situation? Or you could say, hey, like we ran out of time, so I'd like to propose like my solution. Is that okay? Are we open to maybe changing paths or whatever it might be? But you want to just start from that level of questioning, curiosity, and bringing the walls down. That it's immediately a discussion. It's not an attack. It's not coming after you're not like trying to force conflict and get into a fist fight with people, but starting with seeking to understand and then translating that into more declarative statements later on is going to be ideal. And so my tip for this one is, again, practice this with AI. And so the cool thing that you can do with AI is it can create the situation of conflict. And so what you can say is give it what your job role is and maybe some of the common people you interact with in your company. So me, I'm on the IT side, right? So I regularly interact with everybody. I interact with finance, I interact with marketing and sales and customer support, and you name it, because technology is involved. Like I've worked with everybody. So this is where you can kind of frame it as that and say, hey, here is the job that I have within my company. Here are the people that I interact with on a monthly basis. I would like you to pick one of those personas at random, and I would like you to create a situation that might generate conflict with my role, my priorities, my personality, whatever it might be. And then I'd like to have that conversation about the potential conflict. And I'd like to have you then, after the conversation is agreed upon, that we've reached a conclusion, I'd like to have you at the end give me feedback as an expert in conflict resolution and how I could have facilitated that conversation better. And so this can be a great one. Or if you have something top of mind, maybe in the last couple of months, you've had a couple things where you just were like, I don't know how to approach it. Or again, you were just kind of hoping it would fix itself or whatever, but you just kind of put it on the back burner. Then give AI that situation. Hey, I was talking with this person. They said this thing that didn't sit well with me. I really didn't like the way that they said that to me. I really didn't like the tone of it. And I really want to have a working relationship with this person. And I want to work out how we can make sure that we are communicating in an effective way moving forward. Can we recreate this situation? And I will approach you about the conflict, and you help me become more direct, be professional, be respectful, and come to a resolution and conclusion. Again, The beauty of AI is you can mold it to any persona, any situation, and just recreate and rinse and repeat conversations over and over again. So that's the thing is, like I said, you want to start with questions in trying to inquire how this conflict started, why this person's opinion is what it is, why they communicated the way it is. And maybe like you take myself as an example. I got a lot of flack for a long time because I'm a generally direct communicator by default. And I only deviate from direct communication when I realize it doesn't work for somebody, or somebody's like, hey, like, right? Like some form of like negative response to my direct communication, then I change and adapt. It's because direct is just, it's the most efficient. Um, and it doesn't have to be like again, ideally I get a direct communication back of that doesn't work for me, but it might just be that I notice that somebody has facial expressions or body language or just generally doesn't respond well to it. And that rubs people the wrong way if they are someone who's averse to direct communication. And so this is where I can then go to them, or I hope that they eventually come to me actually and bring this up. But I genuinely, whenever I do get approached with this, again, even as someone who is on the one being accused of being conflicting or, abrasive or these sorts of things, hey, what about that is abrasive to you? What about it? Like, help me understand your point of view so that I can modify my communication better, right? Like taking the burden upon yourself, asking questions to seeking to understand, that is the key to not feeling like you have to dodge or avoid conflict. And again, using AI as a practice partner, like I said, you want to tell it it's an expert in conflict resolution. You want to tell it the persona it's emulating, or the pick at random from the personas that you regularly interact with, and to either, hey, mimic this specific situation that I had, here's what it was, or based off of my job role and the personas at play, I want you to create a potentially conflicting situation that gives me the ability to practice initiating a conflict resolution oriented type of conversation, and then give me feedback at the end of how I could have been better, where I can improve, and what I did well. Okay. All right. The next one, letting terrible people drain you. I think it's how I phrased this early on. And so this is one that just, it's kind of similar to the conflict one, honestly, is the best way that I'm going to phrase it. Cause I know like they kind of go hand in hand, but the difference that why I want to make this distinction is because it's a specific type of conflict, right? And so dodging conflict can be that you just have a difference of opinion on how to handle a particular project or a particular solution or a contract or whatever, right? Like all of those are considered conflict. This is one where like there's just a person that's toxic or terrible or constantly negative or whatever, and they just force you to like grin and bear it, and it's just atrocious, right? And it makes you like every time that you see their name on your calendar or in a meeting or whatever, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to. That's what I'm referring to here. And so the thing here is to take it the same way as the dodging conflict. You want to outline first why this person is toxic, negative, terrible, whatever. Like have your ducks in a row going into this conversation. And honestly, the way to approach it is obviously don't tell them, hey, I want to understand like why you're a toxic person, or I want to fix this negative relationship. No. Put that away. Okay. You're going to reach out. And what you're going to ultimately try to accomplish is set boundaries. Okay. But you're going to do that again through questioning, where you're going to say, hey, I noticed that there's just been a different approach to a variety of things. Here's, a couple things that I've noticed that between you and I, we just aren't seeing eye to eye on. And here's how that's impacting me. Can you help me understand why this is your approach? Right? I want to understand you. I want to understand your background, right? And I want to get us to a point where we work, like lamb and tuna fish. And I hope you get that reference. Otherwise, it's a terrible combination. But putting that aside, like you get what I'm saying. Like I don't want to be oil and water, right? I want to be water and water. I want to be water and electrolytes. I want to be oil and gas, right? Whatever. That's what we're trying to do here. And so framing it that way of still approaching with questions, being the initiator, but just saying, hey, I've noticed that you and I have a different approach. I noticed that you and I take a different tact, right? And as people who work together on a pretty regular basis, I want us to be smooth sailing. And so here's what I see and what's impacting me. Do you see the same thing? Do you feel the same thing? How can we begin to work on this particular situation? This is how you can then parlay into setting some boundaries of like, here, you emailing me at 11:30 at night and expecting a response is unacceptable. Whatever it might be. I'm just throwing out a very hyperbolic example and boundary here, but you get what I'm saying. That you seek to understand why this person is negative or draining or whatever. And maybe it turns into a coaching scenario. Maybe you learn that actually you had the incorrect approach. Or again, maybe you guys just come together and figure out what it might be. But if you approach with questions versus statements and accusations, this will almost always break down any of the toxic, negative, terrible barriers and turn it into a productive conversation. Start with seeking to understand. And again, this is one where the more you know about the person, then the more that you can have a more accurate representation of conversation with AI. So it's the same kind of concept with the dodging conflict one, but instead of saying like pick from this persona at random or like pick from this type of person, like in terms of a marketing guy or whatever, you can like define like, hey, here's the struggle I'm having with this person, and I want to have a conversation with them about it. Right? Like give AI the specifics. The more information you can give it, the more accurate of a conversation it can recreate. And you could say, here's the goal of the conversation. I want to seek to understand. I want to come to a mutually beneficial relationship. I potentially want to set some boundaries, and I want to move forward. Let's go. So again, great use of AI in conversing with it in order to come to this same working conclusion. Okay, so next up, waiting for recognition. This is one that just, it's so frustrating. Because what's funny is, so at the end of the day, there's a previous video I made, check it out, about how to get promoted 10x faster. And the biggest fault that people have is they just expect that the work speaks for themselves. Here's the thing that I would ask you. If the work spoke for itself, why do you have to interview for a job? Right? You have to sell yourself in an interview. Why do you think you don't have to sell yourself in your annual review or your semi-annual review or whatever it is? Like you have to do that over and over and over again, right? And just as your resume is like a form of bragging with the impact and achievements that you've made, you should be doing that regularly. And here's the thing. Even if it's just for the fact that when you go to update your resume after being in a position for 3, 5, 7, 10, 12 years, whatever it is, it's a joke to update because you have your list of wins and achievements and impact, right? Like it's just a no-brainer. So waiting for recognition is just one of the biggest fallacies I've ever seen. You need to learn to argue for yourself and sell yourself and advocate for yourself. And so honestly, this starts with just a couple different things. I think if you have regular one-on-ones with your leader, great place to do it. Weekly recap emails, another great way to do it. Maybe you're on a project, you're doing something or whatever it might be, and sending a weekly recap to your manager or leader. Hey, here's what we accomplished, blah, 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 blah. Here's the roadblocks that we cleared, whatever it is. Making those kind of known through, like I said, recap emails, one-on-ones, having those conversations. And even if it's in the one-on-one, you can be like, hey, did you see this particular thing that happened? Right. And then even if you open it up to a coaching opportunity. So here's kind of a great way I like to do this is if you did something as a win and you want to get them to notice it, then what you can do is you can say, hey, did you see this thing that we closed or that we got taken care of? Oh yeah, great job on that. Did you see anywhere I could have improved? Like, could I have handled that better? Or in your mind, like, was that an ideal solution? Right. So it's actually a double win, right? With making yourself look really, really good because you're saying in a way, hey, did you see my awesomeness? And then could my awesomeness have been awesomenesser, right? Like that's what you're trying to get at here. So there's a lot of little like subtle ways here, but something I always tell people to do is begin building what I call a brag book. And what's funny is I actually do this as a leader for the people who report to me. I literally have a running brag book for every single person in my TickTick application. TickTick is like my life source. It's my second brain, keeps track of all my shenanigans, whatever it might be. But I create my own brag book. And what's funny is I take a look at when people come to their reviews or to advocate for themselves or whatever, what are they bragging about versus what I'm bragging about? Are they the same? Are they bragging about themselves at all? Right? But it immediately presents that opportunity for me to say, hey, how do you think you won this quarter? What did you do well? Like it's almost always a part of a review question. What did you do well this quarter, this last 6 months, these last 12 months, whatever? Right? And when they list their stuff out, does it match what you did as a brag book? And then this also opens up the opportunity for them to maybe think about, they're looking at wins in a particular way and you're looking at wins in a particular way, and you can help them to understand what the wins are that leadership or businesses really, really care about, as opposed to maybe what they care about. So it just creates this constant, awesome opportunity. But you as an individual, you need to start a brag book, send weekly recap emails. In your one-on-ones, ask if people notice the things you did, and then if you can have areas for improvement. Like, that's probably like the best go-to way that I have for people is, hey, did you notice this thing that happened, that I did, that we closed, that we finished? And then immediately upon the acknowledgement, because they're like they might be thinking, like they're just trying to get me to notice. And then you're like, what could I have done better? Like, did you see anything I could improve on? Right now, they're excited because you just opened up a coaching opportunity, and all of us love coaching people. I don't care who you are. Like, you love feeling useful and feeling like you can make someone's life better. Great, great, great way to do to get yourself recognized. Same thing as well, bragging about other people, right? Going to your manager, hey, did you see what John did, or what Susie did, or did you see, like, I thought that was super, super sweet, right? Same thing when, if you're in an email chain and maybe you're on the leadership side, and so you get kudos for your team doing something, right? And you can be like, oh, like, I will pass this along to John to make sure that he knows, right? Because he was the one that really led this initiative, right? So that way, like, you're letting your leadership know, I'm going to pass this through, but you're also letting your leadership know, hey, John was the one that kicked ass and took names, right? Or whatever it is. So this is a great way as well from a recognition standpoint. Now, AI here, I would really honestly query it mostly from a tools standpoint. If you need the conversational help, it's no different than the previous conversations we've kind of talked about and those frameworks. But if you want to just maybe converse with and say, hey, I am struggling to figure out how to convey my wins, but I'm really struggling to keep track of my wins. What are some systems or some methods or things that you recommend for me to do to keep those in real time and keep them updated about what I am doing? Like I said, I'm one who I use TickTick to do it. I keep a little brag book. I will send recaps on a timely basis, whatever it might be. I also, like I said, I do a lot of the conversational ones in one-on-ones and things like that. So AI can be a great tool in brainstorming different systems for you. All right. Hiding behind emails. So what I mean by this is, this can be a little bit deceiving, but at the end of the day, just nothing beats relationship building like face-to-face, or at a minimum voice-to-voice, right? Text-to-text is the worst for building a relationship. So this is where, honestly, I tell people, like, just message someone on Teams or something. Hey, you have 5 minutes for a quick call? Or, hey, can we hop on a call? That sort of thing. Or, hey, I'm going to throw a little bit of time on your calendar to discuss this. Is that okay? I know that for some people it feels burdensome, but if you actually keep it to 5 minutes, or if it even goes longer, but ends up being mutually productive, that's fine. But that is how you build relationships. And this can, again, like, even if it's something to where maybe you don't have the time to do that in real time all the time, but having weekly one-on-ones, having regular scheduled check-ins, having department level meetings, on a reoccurring basis, like these sorts of things, just don't let email be your relationship builder. Leverage your Teams, your Slack, your WebEx, your Zoom, I don't care what the technology is. They all behave the same, right? But leverage the call perspective to meet with people. And if you are in a hybrid position or in office position, leverage that. Walk by someone's desk. Hey, do you have 5 minutes? And here's the thing. If that person tells you no, respect it, right? Don't question it, and just say, not a problem. I'll get with you later. I'll shoot you an email, right? But if you just get in the habit of doing that and you respect the no, then they're also going to respect when you ask and say yes when it's possible. And so just take the opportunity to build that relationship. I'm really not going to give you an AI tool for this one. I think this one is self-explanatory, but I think too many people, whether they are on the leadership chain and they want to hide behind email because that's the protective mechanism, if you will, like having everything in writing and this and that and blah, 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 blah. But it's like, you're not human in email, right? Like, there's so much humanity that's lost in email. And then if you're on the individual contributor, maybe lower on the totem pole, then you're like, oh, I don't want to take my leader's time, or, oh, I don't want it to be a waste of time. Again, like, who cares? Just be human, right? Leverage the human element. And whether that's walking by someone's office or desk, doing some face-to-face video stuff, or voice-to-voice at least. But like, email should be the last resort for building relationships and having those discussions. Again, no AI genius here. Just do it. And then ignoring self-care. So this is one where I think a lot of people just, even like me, I'm an ultra, some like high performer, like I said, in a sense of the last 15 years, I have worked 12 to 16-hour days every single day. It's what's gotten me ahead. It's what's sustained my growth. It is why even when I took a 2-year gap in the worst possible time for my line of work and my career, that I was able to come back and overcome it quickly. It's the reason I'm consistently promoted. And it's not just that I work more, it's that I'm effective in that working. But you bet your ass that throughout all of this, I work out consistently. I meditate consistently. I try to read or listen to podcasts or other information gathering modalities. I spend time with my wife and family. I try my best. Probably where I struggle the most, full transparency, is keeping up with friends. Oh my gosh, because we are all geographically disparate, so that makes it worse to where like it's got to be some form of, kind of video call or phone call. And going back to the previous thing, like I hate text messaging. I think it's just so impersonal and I don't like it. Um, and to some of my friends, that's like abysmal, right? Like they would prefer to have some small text exchanges here and there versus like a long call once a month, whatever it is. Um, so it's just finding that happy medium. But while I definitely like kick ass, take names, work hard, probably the number one question I've got in my life is like, how do you do it? And it's just because of this. I don't neglect what I need to take care of myself. And I have just happened to choose a narrow scope of where I invest my time. And that happens to be my work because I love what I do in the grand scheme. Does that mean that every day is awesome and I leave every single day of work, whether it's my company as a career coach or my IT career, every day with, sunshine and roses? Absolutely not. Right. But when I look back at what I've done and the work I continue to do, am I fulfilled and am I happy and proud? Yeah, I am. And so the thing that I want to leverage here is twofold. AI can be an exquisite resource in this regard. The thing to do with AI when it comes to your self-care is if you know what you need to do, then have AI help you build a system. Hey, I have a really good response to working out, meditation, and small gaps throughout the day. Here's my workload and what I'm doing. Can you help me build a repeatable system that will allow me to sustain this level of output? Let's say you don't have an idea though, and you need to discover it. What are your symptoms? Is it fatigue? Is it lack of excitement and passion? Is it being angry all the time? Is it being sad all the time? Is it just apathy? Like whatever your symptoms that you can feel that are the problem with your lack of self-care, go to AI and say, hey, I need you to help me identify the actions that I can take in order to facilitate self-care so that I can continue to be my best self. I can only give to you my symptoms right now. The systems will be iterative and developmental, but I would like an initial starting point. And the starting point should be as minimal effort and low time and energy investment as possible. I just need some things to initially try. What are the first 3 things that you would recommend? Here's the symptoms I experience. Here's what I have going on in my life right now and the time consumption of each of those things. So that way it has an idea. How much time do you have? What do you need to work around? Do you have the ability to do something with a spouse or not because you have a spouse in your life? Like give it the information about your life and about your situation and the symptoms you're experiencing, and it can help target different tools. Like I said, I have gone through so many different tools, right? I have tried literally scheduling myself down to the gnat's ass. I have tried cold showers. I've tried waking up early. I've tried sleeping in. I've tried meditation, working out, eating well, getting outside, not getting outside, spending more time with my dog, spending less time. Like I've tried So many different things. I've tried supplements as well, right? Like you name it. Like I'm not going to say I've tried it, but like I've tried a lot of different tools and I've settled on my system that overall has allowed me to sustain for so long such high quantity of investment and output. And you need to take time to invest in yourself, and AI can be a huge partner in identifying those things. All right, so let's do a quick recap here. So, overpromising and underdelivering. Stop it. Stop saying yes to everything. Build a prioritization system. Say no. Set real expectations and use AI to practice those conversations. Don't agree to anything verbally without agreeing to it in writing. And set the tone by this very, very simply in the conversation. Reiterate, hey, this is what you are asking of me. Here's what I need to do. Yes. Okay, I'm going to send an email to both of us just recapping that so that I don't forget it or I don't lose track of it. Frame it as you are doing it for your benefit. Nothing to do with them. Stop dodging conflict. Approach it, but approach it with curiosity. Seek to understand. Practice that conversation with AI, telling it the persona or personas that you might be having conflict with. The more details you can give it, the better, and the more realistic scenario you'll get with the more specificity you can give it. And practice the conversation and have it give you feedback. Stop letting terrible people drain your energy, right? Figure out what it is that makes them terrible to you. Make that a list and approach them about it. Hey, like I said, again, approach with curiosity in terms of asking questions. Hey, it seems like we aren't working well together because of A, B, and C. Can you help me understand? Do you feel the same thing? Do you not? Just start off very basic like that and then have the conversation from there on. Waiting for recognition. Stop. Build a brag book. Build systems for getting yourself noticed. Send out, weekly recap emails. Bring up in your one-on-ones, hey, did you see this thing I did? How can I improve? Or how could I have done better? So that way it's not just like you're getting them to admit out loud that they saw your awesomeness, but you're actually parlaying it into a growth opportunity and that it's not just awesomeness. Stop hiding behind emails. Leverage face-to-face, leverage video calls, leverage voice calls, something other than text to build relationships. Okay. And then lastly, stop ignoring your self-care. Take care of yourself because you will be shocked that if you take care of yourself, what it is that you are able to achieve and output long-term input and a long-term sustainability going forward. And AI can help you with all of these different habits. All right. If you like this content, leave a comment below. If you have any questions, anything you want me to dive deeper on, leave that down below as well. If you like this video, hit the like button, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Again, I also post daily on X, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So check me out there for content. And at the same time, if you are looking for all of my career coaching strategies, I'm building a library of all my different approaches with AI and career coaching in school. It's a free community. You will get everything plain and simple. And on top of that, you get to grow your network as an added benefit. That's linked down below. So until next time, thank you.